Making headlines this hour. The Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure officially opens applications for the first housing scheme under the incumbent government's ambitious Housing for All policy, marking a significant step in addressing the nation's housing shortage. The Maldivian government takes a significant step towards strengthening healthcare delivery across the archipelago, with the Ministry of Health handing over ambulances to 56 islands nationwide. The 17th edition of the biennial Dosti Trilateral Coast Guard exercise involving the Maldives, India and Sri Lanka officially commences, inaugurated by Minister of Defense Muhammad Hassan Mahmood.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Welcome to PSM News in English with me, Hafiz Abdul Sattar. Now the news in detail. The Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure officially opens applications for the first housing scheme under the incumbent government's ambitious Housing for All policy, marking a significant step in addressing the nation's housing shortage.
Announced last November, the scheme will allocate a total of 15,000 plots of land and 7,900 flats, with the application process being conducted entirely online through the government's dedicated housing portal. Prospective applicants are urged to note the critical deadlines. Submissions for land plots must be completed by 4th March, while the deadline for flat applications is 17 April. The comprehensive regulations, eligibility criteria, and marking system for the allocations have been published by the ministry to ensure a transparent process. The allocations are designed to cater to a broad cross-section of society. In the Greater Male area and Ras Male, 15,000 plots will be distributed, with 10,000 reserved for residents of Male, 3,000 for non-residents, and 500 designated for predeceased heirs. A further 1,500 plots are allocated for those relocating from the city's narrow lanes. For flats, 4,000 units in the Male area are designated for city residents, 1,500 for individuals from other islands, and 2,400 for special priority categories, which this year include taxi drivers and workers in the fishing and tourism industries. A key feature allows previous recipients of 1 or 2 bedroom flats to apply for 3-bedroom units based on specific conditions related to family size. A primary requirement for city applicants is proof of residence in Male for a continuous 15-year period up to 14 January 2026, with documentation required for any interruptions due to special circumstances. The allocation will prioritize an applicant's income and current living conditions. At a launch event, the Minister of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure, Dr. Abdullah Muttalib, insisted that this administration is committed to fulfilling its promises where predecessors have not. The Housing for All scheme is supported by major land reclamation projects, including developments in Hormale, the massive Ras Male project, and the Gorifar and Giravar Faro initiatives, which together are creating over 1,600 hectares of new land to meet the nation's current and future housing needs.
The Maldivian government takes a significant step towards strengthening healthcare delivery across the archipelago, with the Ministry of Health handing over ambulances to 56 islands nationwide.
The handover took place at a special ceremony led by the Minister of Health, Abdullah Nazim, who said the initiative reflects a broader government commitment to building a more comprehensive and sustainable health system. Addressing the gathering, Minister Nazim said President Dr. Muhammad Muiz, during his extensive community outreach visits, had listened directly to island residents and documented the specific challenges faced by each community. He said the provision of ambulances was a direct response to concerns reputedly raised about emergency medical transport. The minister acknowledged the structural difficulties of delivering healthcare in a country made up of widely dispersed islands. He said even islands that previously had ambulances often faced prolonged service disruptions due to maintenance constraints, leaving communities without reliable emergency transport. Under a directive from the president, these gaps were mapped and prioritized, leading to the current rollout. Through a contractor-financed agreement with Maldives Ports Limited (MPL), 56 ambulances have now been distributed to islands across the country. Minister Nazim described the move as a clear indication of the priority the administration places on equitable access to healthcare. Looking ahead, he said further efforts would focus on cities where demand for emergency services continues to grow. Emphasizing the project's integrated and sustainable design, the minister said MPL has also been mandated to carry out all maintenance work for the ambulances, addressing one of the long-standing weaknesses in emergency health services. The project, valued at $4.22 million, was awarded to MPL last year under a contractor financing model, with the vehicles delivered to the Maldives in 3 separate tranches. The government's plans extends beyond the current scope. Minister Nazim confirmed that an additional 31 ambulances for islands, along with 10 paramedic ambulances for the Greater Mali region, are scheduled to be brought into service later this year, further expanding the country's emergency response capacity.
The government is set to significantly strengthen healthcare delivery across its outer atolls, with the Ministry of Health confirming that specialized medical launches for atoll hospitals will be operational by the end of January under the Maldives Health Line initiative.
Health Minister Abdullah Nazim said the provision of dedicated marine transport assets is a critical component in reinforcing the referral and service delivery network, linking regional hospitals with island-based health centres. He noted that reliable inter-island transportation is fundamental to ensuring continuity of care. According to the minister, the availability of launches will substantially reduce logistical and operational constraints faced by specialist physicians and clinical teams based at regional hospitals, enabling them to conduct regular outreach clinics and on-site consultations. This, he said, will improve equitable access to secondary and specialized healthcare services for residents of remote islands. Minister Nazim stressed that an institutionalized transport framework is essential for the effective functioning of the national healthcare system. In this regard, the ministry is in the process of allocating 7 medical launches to regional and atoll hospitals that currently lack such assets. He confirmed that by the end of the month, all atolls in the Maldives will have dedicated launches in place to support the Healthline system. The Ministry of Health stated that the initiative is being implemented through a collaborative partnership with the Asian Development Bank, ADB, under its Asia Pacific Vaccine Access Facility. The program is designed to enhance health system resilience and improve service delivery capacity nationwide. Officials highlighted that the introduction of medical launches will facilitate a range of critical public health functions, including the timely transportation of vaccines under cold chain requirements, the transfer of biological and laboratory specimens for diagnostic testing within clinically acceptable timeframes, and the expansion of preventive and curative outreach programs. The launches have been custom-fitted with medical-grade equipment to support patient transfers, including emergency evacuations, thereby strengthening pre-hospital care and emergency medical response capabilities across the atolls. Under the APVX project, 3 of the 7 designated launches have already arrived in Mali City, with the remaining vessels expected to be delivered shortly. As part of the broader Maldives Health Line initiative, a total of 20 multi-purpose high-speed medical launches will be distributed across all 20 atolls, marking a significant step towards improving healthcare accessibility, emergency preparedness, and health equity throughout the country.
National Social Protection Agency NSPA reveals that over $3.49 million was disbursed in medical aid in December 2025. NSPA provided vital aid to individuals for medicals in December 2025. In this regard, the agency provided $2.26 million to individuals for medical within the country and $1.22 million for overseas treatment. Breaking down this figure, NSPA has provided 473 people with assistance for treatment at local private hospitals, ADK Hospital and Treetop Hospital. $429,495.47 was provided for individuals that received treatment at these hospitals. Furthermore, NSPA has provided $194,049.16 for the procurement of assistive devices. The 17th edition of the biennial Dosti Trilateral Coast Guard exercise involving the Maldives, India and Sri Lanka officially commences, inaugurated by Minister of Defence Mohammad Ghassan Maumon.
Held every 2 years, Exercise Dosti began 35 years ago as a bilateral drill between India and the Maldives before expanding into a trilateral exercise in 2012. This year's edition, running from 17 to 19 January, will feature search and rescue operations maritime pollution response, and security drills. Speaking at the ceremony, Chief of Defense Force Major General Ibrahim Hilmi said Exercise Dosti is a vital initiative for ensuring maritime security and safety in the region. He recalled that he had the opportunity to participate in the earliest Dosti exercises and said although resources and activities were limited at the time, the cooperation between the Maldives and India was strong in ensuring the security of the region.
Today, Dosti has evolved into a maritime mature trilateral exercise with Sri Lanka joining in the year 2012. This growth reflects both the evolving security environment of the Indian Ocean and the deep trust and professional respect among our coast guards.
He described the now trilateral exercise as a symbol of the strong relationship between the Maldives, India, and Sri Lanka and its collective operational preparedness. Sri Lankan Coast Guard's Director General, Admiral Rohan Joseph, described the exercises as one of the most significant programs held to ensure the security of the Indian Ocean region. He stressed that complex maritime threats can only be addressed through cooperation, trust, and joint action.
Since its inception, the exercise has evolved into becoming one of the most important exercises in the region that focus on making the Indian Ocean region a safer and a secure place. The trilateral format of this exercise has proven that complex and complicated challenges in the maritime domain could be only addressed through cooperation, coordination, and mutual trust.
Indian Coast Guard's Director General, Admiral Paramesh Sivamani, also underlined the long-standing ties among the three countries. He noted that the Indian Ocean was a means for the exchange of trade, language, and culture between the countries even before the establishment of official diplomatic relations.
Its currents, monsoon rhythms, and ancient seafaring traditions have long connected our people, and today they remind us that we have a shared responsibility to protect and preserve what we jointly inherit. The Indian Ocean is not only a vast expanse of water, it is a strategic ecosystem that carries a significant share of the world's maritime trade, energy flows, and economic lifelines. Nearly 3 billion people live in the countries bordering this ocean, making it a region of extraordinary opportunity and equally profound responsibility.
He said Coast Guards play a crucial role in environmental protection and humanitarian assistance, which in turn reflects the link between ocean health and community well-being.
Minister of Sports, Fitness and Recreation Abdullah Rafiu emphasized that sports play a vital role in building a healthy society and shaping the moral character of individuals. Speaking on a program aired by Divahiraje Gyadu, the minister said sports provide valuable lessons for all ages, teaching important qualities such as respect, teamwork, punctuality, and adherence to moral standards. He stressed that such values must be instilled in children, adding that a generation raised on these principles will not only produce great athletes but also foster a society that promotes health and well-being. The government is working hard to achieve this vision by launching major initiatives to establish fitness centers and outdoor gyms across the country. Malé Water and Sewage Company MWSC's Managing Director Abdul Mateen Muhammad says Kuludufushi city's water supply will be converted to run entirely on renewable energy during the first quarter of this year.
The agreement to convert Kuludufushi city's water system to run on renewable energy was signed in June last year between MWSC and Japan's Kanadevia. Speaking on PSM News Rajya program, Mateen said a battery system will be used to store energy produced through a full solar system without the use of diesel. The desalination plant, run on the energy produced by a solar system, will produce 500 cubic meters of water per day. In addition to the 500 kilowatt solar system, the plant will be equipped with a 1,450 kilowatt battery system. Mateen said the shift will cut fuel imports, which will in turn save foreign currency and improve energy security, while also reducing environmental impact.
Flying over the lush green islands of Noon Atoll, a bold new vision for the Maldives is emerging from the lagoon. Project Isla, a transformative $750 million integrated tourism development set to redefine a sustainable luxury in the Indian Ocean. Is the nation's first special economic zone, SEZ. This ambitious initiative blends the Maldives' iconic one island, one resort model with cutting-edge environmental stewardship, aiming to generate at least 60% of its energy from renewable sources and achieve full self-sufficiency through advanced waste management and local food production. Beyond luxury villas and marinas, Project Isla includes an international healthcare center, hospitality training hubs and modern agri-cooperative facilities designed to reduce reliance on food imports. With dredging works already completed and a target completion date of 2028, the government heralds the project as a landmark in foreign investment, promising comprehensive services for residents and workers alike. Expected to generate thousands of jobs and boost education, healthcare and sustainable economic growth, Project Isla marks a new chapter in the Maldives' journey toward resilient, people-centered development. Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chol says South Korea's planned investment of $350 billion in strategic U.S. sectors under a trade deal is unlikely to kick off in the first half of 2026, meaning the weak won currency should not face major new dollar outflows.
The allies agreed to cap annual dollar investment outflows at $20 billion under a November trade deal that cut President Donald Trump's tariffs on imports from South Africa, which agreed in turn to invest $350 billion in U.S. strategic sectors. He was referring to an annual cap of $20 billion on outflows agreed by the two countries. Koo ruled out further macro-prudential measures to slow the won's decline. An upgrade to developed market status by Morgan Stanley Capital International, or MSCI, is one of President Lee Jae-myung's major policy pledges since he took office in June 2025. Koo's comment followed remarks on Thursday by Deputy Finance Minister Choi Ji-yong that the government was considering new measures to curb dollar demand among domestic investors, though he gave no details. South Korea sets caps on banks' foreign forward positions. The slumping won is a worry for Seoul officials planning for such large outflows as it nears levels unseen since the global financial crisis from 2007 to 2009, even though exports are humming and the stock market jumped 76% last year. Earlier, it had hovered near 16-year lows of 1,473.8 after weakening more than 2% this year. Koo said the government will swiftly adopt recently unveiled market stabilizing measures because herd-like behavior in the markets could push the won down. Last week, the government raised its growth forecast for this year to 2.0% from 1.8%, which Koo attributed largely to strong semiconductor demand in the era of artificial intelligence, calling it a blessing for South Korea. To boost the potential for growth, the government will invest in technologies from AI and biopharmaceuticals to nuclear energy and food, Koo said, moves that will help ease investor pessimism on the South Korean economy and currency.
U.S. President Donald Trump says that the United States is talking with NATO about Greenland, repeating his assertion that the Arctic island is vital to U.S. national security.
Speaking to reporters before departing for West Palm Beach in Florida, Trump said the U.S. needs Greenland to avoid what he described as a major security gap, citing missile defense and broader military considerations. He did not rule out further steps to secure U.S. interests there, saying discussions with NATO were ongoing.
Well, we're going to see NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very badly. If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security, especially when it comes to what we're doing in terms of the Golden Dome and all of the other things. We have a lot of investments in military. We have got the strongest military in the world, and it's only getting stronger.
Trump's comments come amid heightened tensions between Washington and European allies over Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark. Several NATO members have recently increased their focus on the Arctic, citing concerns about growing Russian and Chinese activity in the region.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomes visiting British Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy in Kiev, thanking London for its continued backing in the war against Russia.
Zelensky hailed recent UK and France-backed security guarantees as a first big step in a coalition of the willing and praised Britain's new energy support package as vital amid daily missile strikes on Ukraine's power infrastructure.
Very happy to see you. Thank you so much for coming for your visit, and we are very happy that you are here today. Yes, so we are friends. Yes. And we are very thankful that we have such supporters of all our nation from all your people. Thank you so much. The last meeting with your Prime Minister, David, was crucial for us, and I think for such steps to peace, very important that we, together with United Kingdom and together with France, we signed the first step of Coalition of the Willings.
He also sent personal regards to King Charles, saying Ukrainians were very thankful for the UK solidarity throughout these difficult years of war. Lammy underlined the importance of the country's 100-year partnership and said cross-party support for Ukraine in the US Congress remains hugely supportive. Kiev's ambassador to the UK said on the Telegram app that the parties would hold a Centennial Partnership Forum and discuss future cooperation.
Interim President Delcy Rodriguez says Venezuela will begin routing revenues from oil sales to the country's central bank as part of its foreign exchange system.
Speaking during a meeting with the National Economy Council broadcast on Venezuelan government television, Rodriguez said oil sale proceeds will arrive through the Central Bank of Venezuela and then reach private banks for the foreign exchange market mechanism. Her remarks came as 4 Venezuelan banks were notified this week they will split $300 million in oil revenues deposited in an account in Qatar, enabling the banks to sell dollars to Venezuelan companies that need foreign currency to pay for imported materials, according to financial sources. The foreign currency injection follows weeks of tighter dollar supply after U.S. actions that Venezuelan officials say disrupted oil exports, including the seizure of Venezuelan oil tankers. Venezuelan companies have long had to convert bolivars into dollars through the official system using foreign currency generated by oil sales and by transactions made with foreign credit cards inside the country. In the same meeting, Rodriguez said a contract had been signed to commercialize liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, and that Venezuela would export its first molecule of gas. She also said state oil company PDVSA had raised output to 1.2 million barrels per day, a level she said had not been reached since 2015.
Red Bull Racing and Racing Bulls joins together in Detroit to unveil bold new liveries ahead of the 2026 Formula One season.
The launch, held in Michigan Central Station, marked a return to the glossy finish on the cars first seen when the team made its debut back in 2005.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I asked for already for a while, so that it finally arrived, I'm very happy to see. It looks a lot more fresh, and it's a really cool livery.
Drivers Max Verstappen and Isaac Hadjar were joined by Red Bull Racing Team Principal Laurent Mekies and Racing Bulls Team Principal Alan Permane, as well as F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali and Ford CEO Jim Farley. The other Red Bull team, Racing Bulls, also held their unveil at the same event. New Zealander Liam Lawson, who finished 2025 off strongly with 5 top 10 finishes in the second half of the season, and 18-year-old Briton Arvid Lindblad pulled the silk off to highlight an all-white look, enhanced with sleek blue accents tracing the contours of the chassis. The 2026 season begins in Melbourne and will mark the official race debut of Red Bull Ford powertrains, with the team now building both cars and power unit under the same roof for the first time.
The private side of a politician who held one of the most public jobs, a U.S. president, is on display at Christie's in New York, where paintings and personal items from the collection of Jimmy and Rosalind Carter are now up for auction.
The selection ranges from oil paintings to campaign-era memorabilia and everyday objects, peanut-themed scarves, and collection of ties, and a Stetson hat made for Carter. Among the highlights are 4 oil-on-canvas paintings that Carter painted himself. Julia Jones, associate specialist in Christie's Americana department, told that the former president began painting as a child and continued throughout his life, with his output increasing after he left the White House. Many of the scenes reflect places closely tied to him, including the church in Plains, Georgia, depicted in Steeple, which has an estimate of $6,000 to $8,000.
Jimmy Carter, like most young children, started painting when he was in primary school, and he kind of just continued that hobby and interest throughout his young adult life into his presidency and then post-presidency. When he left the White House, he started to paint much more, and as Amy Carter describes, it became kind of a practice for him to find solitude and peace in his very busy life.
Carter, a Democrat, became president in January 1977 after defeating incumbent Republican President Gerald Ford in the 1976 election. His one-term presidency was marked by the highs of the 1978 Camp David Accords between Israel and Egypt, bringing some stability to the Middle East. But it was also dogged by an economic recession, persistent unpopularity, and the Iran hostage crisis that consumed his final 444 days in office. After leaving the White House, he earned a reputation as a committed humanitarian. Bidding for the online sale is underway and ends on January 27th. A portion of the proceeds will benefit the Carter Family Foundation, a charitable organization.
And that's all we have for this hour. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant time ahead.